What other things did you do for a living, or what other skills were you building at that time?
So I was into welding quite a bit, like ag mechanics. The class in high school, I was always in the shop welding and cutting metal. There's several projects I've shown on YouTube that I made in that shop class.
So how far did that go? How good did you get at welding?
I got a job at Rocky Mountain Railcar Repair, which I'm not sure if that company still exists, but just welding patches on the side of rail cars. So I welded a lot. Like, I actually got to the point where they were having me weld cast iron pieces that were on the dump gates underneath using the nickel rod.
Isn't cast iron a little bit problematic to weld?
I got pretty good at welding cast.
Wow.
The stick welder with the nickel rod.
Okay.
I also, a little bit later, I went and actually was basically the guy who changed all the tires, like, for a while. Like,
I'll admit I never really thought about changing tires on a rail car.
Yeah, like one of the forklifts runs over a rail at the wrong angle, pops the tire. Like, well, I gotta have somebody go change it. So, I've got my big breaker bar that weighs as much as me, and I'm like, breaking the lugs on the big forklifts. And I got to the point where I had some markings on the bar where I knew where I could stand, and I knew my weight, so I could torque them just the right amount, just foot pounds.
I was gonna say, I have to ask, did you do the math?
Oh yeah,
measure the bar and everything?
Of course.
Nice. Always the scientist is Cody.
And at one point they were moving a bunch of dirt from one side of the property to the other to like make it flat, and they had a big haul pack that they had purchased for this. As the T-Rex, we called it, and they actually had me drive it, and they'd have the guy loading it with the track hoe loading the haul pack, and then I'd drive it and then dump it on the other side of the property and drive back. And so I was driving I think it's like 80 tons.
Oh, dang. Oh, man.
I got to the point where I drove like a lot of different crazy things.
What's the craziest thing? Would that be the craziest thing that you've driven? I mean, I drove a dump truck once, which most people wouldn't consider be that big. I felt like I was driving a mountain. Like I could just sense the ridiculous mass. Apparently,
after I left, the guy who took over from me, like the first week, drove over the back of a pickup. Like the tires just went right over the back of a pickup.
Oh no.
He said he just thought he ran over a pile of dirt.
He just... Holy smokes. I'm assuming... What was the pickup okay, Cody?
No. It's actually a pickup that I drove. They had a bunch of trees they had planted, and they needed somebody to water the trees, so we had a tank of water in the back. And I would back up to the trees, and I had the hose that I could stick out So I had one hand on the steering wheel, one hand on the hose, and I'd like water the tree, then back up, water the next tree. And actually, they were keeping track of the fuel because they were having a problem with people stealing fuel, and they wanted to know how much fuel you're using and how much mileage you're putting on the vehicle, so they could track it all down. That pickup had negative mileage like when I went to report it because I was going backwards so much.
That is awesome. You broke their math. All right, looks like some people were actually curious about where you got your welding experience. Now, once again, you got started in welding like back in high school, right?
High school, yeah.
Did you do anything like any competitions or anything like that? I know in my school we had like some FFA type stuff.
Yeah, the FFA judging competition. I actually won nationals for the welding portion of the judging contests.
So
actually,
we skip all that.
Okay. Yeah. So
just now. Oh yeah. I guess I won nationals. I kind of forgot about it.
It was crazy. Like I think I won like just because I followed the rubric. Like they give us a weird type of rod and a welder that like very few of us had ever even seen. And we had to weld a piece of pipe, 2 pieces of pipe, a pipe nipple, and that thing needed to hold pressure to like 2,000 psi. And I got the first beads done. They looked pretty good, but I chipped them off, and I could see they had a whole bunch of little porosity, the holes in it. I'm like, this is not going to hold. So I cranked up the welder. I went over, I weaved the bead. I went over it a couple of times. And the reason I did that is the rubric, they had it sitting there next to us so we could look at it. The weld looking nice was worth 3 points. Holding against the pressure test was worth 9. So I'm like, I'm going for it's going to hold.
Which makes perfect sense to me, right? I would a lot rather have an effective weld than a pretty weld.
And mine was the only one that held.
Yours was the only one that held.
Yep.
All right. Cody Dawn, National Welding Champion. Cody of the Ugly Weld. I love it. I love it so much. All right. So that kind of brings us up. Anything else from, high school days?
So we live outside of town. I think we'll come to this later, to my parents' ranch. And I was taking multiple AP classes, but the one school didn't have all of the ones I wanted. So I ended up going to 3 different high schools. I drove 80 miles a day. And the best thing is, I was actually making money doing it. I had a little car that got like 50 miles to the gallon, and the school district was paying me because they couldn't bus me around. They were supposed to bus me. They couldn't do that, so they compensated me for my mileage. I was like 40 cents a mile, and I was actually making money driving to school. I dropped my sister off at the first school, drive to the second, take a class there, drive over to the Twilla High, take a class there, and then drive back.
Oh, man. Cody, but we need to talk about words. Because when you just shrugged and was like, yeah, it was pretty standard, and then brought up that you drove 80 miles a day going to 3 different high schools, that's not actually standard, Cody. Most people are not having that experience. So
you sure?
Pretty sure. I feel confident in making that assertion. See, I thought my high school experience, I wouldn't have called it standard because we lived about half an hour outside of town, up in the mountains, and so it was always going down all these winding roads that were never well plowed during the winter, and so it was always just ice capades, and all that sort of stuff. And we also went down to that one for AP classes, but the district didn't care about us. We got paid nothing. Anyways, so what were some of the AP classes you were going around to all these different schools to take?
AP chemistry, calculus, physics, biology.
Nice.
AP English. I took that one. Didn't take the test, but the other ones I took the test.
Did you pass?
Yeah, I passed. I got 3s and 4s.
Nice.
Which is upsetting because the college I ended up going to is like, 5 or nothing.
What?
Yeah.
Say 3 or above is passing. For those at home who may not understand what the AP test is or AP courses, AP stands for Advanced Placement. And generally speaking, it's done in high school. But the general idea is that if it's graded from 1 to 5, and if you get 3 or more, you pass. And most colleges in America will accept that as college credit or a replacement for certain college courses. And so, for his college to not accept 4s or 3s for college credit is just stupid. Would you agree with that assessment?
I did end up testing out of the first chemistry semester, and the second Chem 2, I should have got out of that one too, but what I ended up doing is I would come to class on the test days, roll in 10 minutes late, finish 15 minutes early, and get the high score in the class.
So,
Like, I'd almost never go to that class because I'm like, oh, I've got chemistry pretty good.